What if I told you that Bitcoin isn't just competing with stocks, real estate, or gold, it's actually consuming them? Now, not with hype, not with marketing, but with pure, unstoppable economic gravity. See, every dollar, every share, every ounce of gold is slowly, silently being pulled toward the same center, a monetary black hole that gets stronger with every block mined. Now, this isn't a metaphor to make Bitcoin sound cool, it's an actual economic phenomenon, and if you understand it, you'll see why, in the end, everything gets repriced in Bitcoin. And the crazy part, well, it's already happening. See, most people think of money as static, as something you earn, store, and spend. But money is a current, and just like water, it flows to wherever it's treated best. Now, in the fiat era, that flow has been toward assets that could outpace inflation: stocks, real estate, commodities. But here's the truth: those assets aren't ends in themselves. They're just a temporary shelter from a constant storm of debasement. See, Bitcoin changes the physics of that flow. Now, it's not just another asset to park wealth in, it's an entirely new gravitational center for value. Now, once you step outside the fiat system and look at capital flows in Bitcoin terms, the pattern is impossible to unsee, and capital is being sucked in. See, the Bitcoin black hole effect begins with something deceptively simple: absolute scarcity, because there will only ever be 21 million coins with no exceptions and no dilution. And every time a new buyer steps in, they aren't just adding demand, they're competing for the exact same finite supply. Now, that scarcity alone would be powerful, but it's the way it changes the flow of capital that makes it unstoppable. See, money doesn't just trickle into Bitcoin from the side, it's pulled from everywhere else. It escapes the slow bleed of assets that can be inflated, taxed, or seized, and it migrates towards the one place it can't be touched. And as more value enters the network, its pull strengthens, liquidity deepens, and security grows. Now, the more capital it holds, the more attractive it becomes, and the harder it is to ignore. See, this is the same dynamic that made the dollar the global reserve currency in the 20th century, draining capital from weaker systems. Now, it's that same force that made gold the ultimate store of value for centuries. But now, that same gravitational law is working in Bitcoin's favor and pulling capital away from everywhere else. See, imagine the financial system as a galaxy of assets: stocks here, bonds there, gold floating on the edge, and real estate as massive planets. Then a singularity forms. Now, at first, it's small. The contrarians, the risk takers, are the first to enter orbit. Now, they're laughed at, dismissed, and called crazy. But as the singularity grows, so does its pull. Funds, corporations, even governments begin to drift towards it. And Wall Street launches ETFs that act like vacuum hoses, sucking up coins off the market faster than miners can replace them, and supply on exchanges evaporates. Now, capital starts falling in, not because Bitcoin pumped, but because in a world of melting money, every rational actor eventually seeks the hardest thing that they can hold. See, in the 1970s, when the dollar was cut from gold, capital fled into anything that could beat inflation. Stocks soared, real estate became an investment instead of just a shelter, and commodities boomed. But here's the problem: all those things were still priced in the thing that was failing. And it's like measuring your height with a shrinking ruler. You'll think you're growing even as you're standing still. Now, Bitcoin flips that ruler, and once you start measuring assets in sats, you quickly see which ones are actually holding value and which ones are just fiat illusions. So real estate, well, in Bitcoin terms, it's already getting cheaper. Gold, it's been bleeding value against Bitcoin and for over a decade. Now, even the S&P 500, with all its booms, is massively down when priced in Bitcoin. Now, this is exactly how monetary transitions have always worked. And when gold replaced silver, silver's purchasing power didn't collapse in one single day. It bled slowly, year after year, and until one day it simply wasn't the reference point anymore. Now, when the US dollar replaced the British pound as the world's reserve, it didn't just happen within a single war or treaty, it happened because capital flowed decade after decade towards the safer, harder, more liquid option. Now, Bitcoin is doing the exact same thing right now, quietly, relentlessly, and the difference, well, this shift is happening faster because it's digital, borderless, and viral. See, this isn't Bitcoin versus other assets. It's Bitcoin absorbing other assets. Now, the black hole doesn't attack. It doesn't need to. It just sits perfectly scarce, perfectly secure, and waiting. And every time trust in fiat erodes, and every time yields go negative, every time governments overreach, the pool gets stronger. See, right now, most people still think of Bitcoin as high risk, but history says the risk flips over time. Now, in the gold era, not holding gold was risky. In the dollar era, not holding dollars was risky. And now, in the Bitcoin era, well, not holding Bitcoin will be financial suicide. Now, here's the bigger truth. The Bitcoin black hole effect isn't just about money, it's about truth. See, fiat money requires belief in something that isn't real. It asks you to measure value with a ruler that changes length every day. But Bitcoin's ruler doesn't change, and it forces you to see what actually holds value and what doesn't. Now, that's why it's dangerous to the current system, and it makes the illusion obvious. And once you see the illusion, you can't unsee it. See, every dollar you keep in fiat, every asset you hold that bleeds value, is just orbiting closer to the black hole. So the question is whether you fall in on your terms while prices are still cheap or get pulled in later after the escape velocity is gone. Now, those who understand it now will be the ones setting the terms of trade in the Bitcoin era, and those who wait will be price takers, not price setters. Now, if you can see the Bitcoin black hole forming, then don't just stand at the edge and watch. Stack, withdraw, and secure. Because in the end, every asset will be measured against the hardest money humanity has ever had. And in that world, well, nothing escapes. Now, if you want to go deeper down the Bitcoin rabbit hole, then check out my ebook down below, because it's the wake-up call they never wanted you to read. Now, I do also have to chuck this disclaimer in here as well, and I highly suggest just pausing the video and having a little read. Now, if you've made it this far, and if you're looking for something else to watch, then click right here and have a watch of this.